Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to your 5 Essentials Equipping class. My name is Dr. Kimberly Erb, and I know I don't think I've met any of you in here. But I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you. So I know you're filling out some paperwork in front of you. Your 2 forms that you're filling out, one of them is your nutritional questionnaire. On the back of the nutritional questionnaire, you'll want to count up your total hash marks that you made on your page, and it'll help you guide you for which eating plan that you should be following. Then on your 5 Essentials assessment paperwork, you're going to want to go through and grade yourself, okay, on that paperwork. And that paperwork, the importance of it is so that when we do your 5 Essential consultation, we will know how to guide our appointment. Some of you are going to be really good with exercise and you need more help with nutrition. Some of you have some toxicity things we need to work on, so it'll just help us guide our appointment and make sure that we can help you meet your health goals. Cool? So what you're going to do with the paperwork is you're going to go ahead and at the end of this appointment, you're going to turn it in. And then my team will actually stop you at the front desk when it's time for us to do this consultation, and we will make your appointment. Okay, so they'll have your paperwork already ready, and that way your appointment's coming very soon. So just hang tight. It's probably coming up within the next week or so, okay? So I want to actually introduce myself a little bit to you since I don't know many of you, and just share a little bit with you about why I became a chiropractor in the first place. My husband and I practiced together. I actually got interested and turned on to chiropractic when I was a teenager, and it started for me when I was in high school. The principal pulled me out of the classroom when I was in high school and told me my dad had been in a really bad car accident, and so we had to get to the hospital right away. When I get to the hospital, my dad was very banged up and bloody, and it was pretty traumatizing to see, my dad like that. So we spent about a week in the hospital. We finally got my dad home, and when we got him home from the hospital, he was still in a lot of pain. And so we didn't know what to do, so we took him back to the hospital. And they said, well, there's nothing wrong with you, go home. So we did this 3 or 4 times. And finally, by the 4th time getting to the hospital, they told my dad that it's all in his head, and he needed to see the psychiatrist. Go upstairs in the hospital and see the psychiatrist that they had there. And they decided to prescribe my dad a drug called Prozac. Are you guys familiar with Prozac? So it was actually a brand new drug. It had only come out just months prior to this. And my dad started taking Prozac. And within about a week and a half after taking Prozac, my dad committed suicide. And so that rocked me. And really, I think it set a course for me to help me figure out how I never wanted to let anybody else go through that again. And really, I believe that had they sent my dad to someone like me, he would still be alive today. So what I'm teaching you guys today about the 5 Essentials really is something that can save your life, your family, and really transform your life. And that's really from my heart. So we're going to dive in. You guys ready? Dive in? Okay, cool. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to give you some paperwork here, some folders. So everybody take one of these folders and pass it around. And I will unpack some of the information in these folders throughout the time that we have here together. These are resources. I would keep this folder and I would take notes on it, bring it to your consultation. It'll really help to guide and frame the things that you're doing with your 5 Essentials, okay? Each one of these essentials that you see up on the board, we're going to kind of pick that apart today. The first essential you'll see on there is core chiropractic. And most of you have already spent a lot of time on your chiropractic portion. You sat in with a new patient orientation with Dr. David, yes? And you've read your x-rays, and you've learned about how to do your rehab. So we're going to unpack that today. Nutrition, number 2. We're going to pick an eating plan today. I'm going to explain to you a lot of things about nutrition, but we're going to literally have you guys choose, based upon the information you learned today, which eating plan that you need to follow, okay? Then the third one, mindset. So we're going to unpack mindset, how you think, and getting the most out of every day. That's going to be your mindset, the workshops and things that we do in the office. The fourth essential is fitness. Really, it's going to be the oxygen and exercise component, but we usually get that oxygen and exercise just through our fitness, whatever fitness routine we're doing. So we'll unpack that a little bit. And then the fifth one is minimizing the exposure to toxins. There's a lot to that one. So we'll unpack that, and I give you some resources in your folder to be able to do that. So these are the tools that we use, some of the tools that we use for our 5 Essentials Equipping class. As you can see, you know, with the core chiropractic essential number 1, you'll see a lot with your home care equipment. I put the image of the guy laying on a pillow there on his side, just for us to kind of keep our eyes on making sure that even when we're in bed that we're not messing up our spine, you know, with a big pillow or too small of a pillow. You can see how straight his spine is laying on the pillow, so that's going to be something really important. I know you all have your rolls, which we'll hit in just a minute, but just make sure that you're really taking care of your spine while you're in bed. Essential number 2, nutrition. So some of the tools that we look at for your nutrition, you all got your Align Your Health book when you started care, right? So the homework that you'll have in this will be really the things that you're going to pick out as far as your eating plan to choose today. You're going to go through the appendix. A through G has an appendices which explains each of the eating plans that we do, and even has a shopping list. I read the whole book because it breaks it down, but going back in the appendix gets straight to it. You see the Vitamix there. How many of you guys have a Vitamix? Do you guys have something else, anything else that you like to use? Ninja. Anybody else have anything else? NutriBullet. So those are all good. I recommend making sure that you maybe on your Christmas list, you know, put down, make sure you pick up yourself a blender, because you're going to see a lot of the food that we recommend for you to eat. You'll see a lot of smoothies and puddings and things like that you'll want to use your blender for, okay? You'll see a lot of the grass-fed proteins and the different vitamins. That's going to be the essential 2. And then mindset. My favorite thing that I like to use for mindset is the top left. Do you guys see what's in the top left? What is that? That's my favorite thing that I like to use for mindset. And so I actually like several really good scriptures to help with that. I like the scripture, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Because, you know, we know that whatever we focus on, we become, right? And whatever we spend a lot of time thinking on, we manifest in our life. So if we think about that we're fat and we're always fat and we're never going to, you know, be lean, then we're always just going to manifest that. But if we think about things like we're always going to be healthy, we're going to be overcomers, then we really just manifest that. We attract things and people and into our lives to be able to help us manifest that. I also like Philippians 4:8, whatever's right, whatever's noble. Do you guys know that scripture? Whatever's right, whatever's noble, was praiseworthy, think on such things. I like to fill myself up with really good things to help me with my mindset. So essential 3. And then essential number 4, oxygen and exercise. When you started, you actually got a little bookmark. Maybe some of you haven't looked at your bookmark yet. Have you guys put this on your phone yet? Anybody? Okay. I'm getting like a lot of blank stares, like you have no idea what this is. Okay, so this little bookmark, this is part of your Max T3, your fitness component. And so you'd want to activate that, put it on your laptop or your phone, and you can exercise anywhere, and there's no excuse. You can exercise anywhere. And then in the office here, we actually have workshops that you can come to make sure that you're getting a little bit more of a boost. And our Ashley actually teaches those classes, so you can actually get a good workout in as well. And then minimizing the exposure to toxins, we're going to unpack that a little bit more. What I really want to make sure that we do in this class today is to help to prioritize how you focus your attention on these 5 essentials. Because when you first start, it can feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, right? Was it a lot of information when you first started learning about your spine? So it can feel like you're drinking from a fire hose a little bit at first. So I'm going to try to help you prioritize, like, you know, what foods and what vitamins and things like that, like where to spend your money and your time and your focus. You're not going to live all the 5 essentials perfectly today. Some of you will crawl your way there at a crawl's pace. Some of you will walk, and some of you will run. And I'll move at whatever pace that you need to move at so that you can help meet your health goals. Okay, makes sense? Again, what's next? We're going to do your consultation. Bring your folder with you. This gives you a little bit of homework that you're going to do A through G. Bring some stuff to write down for this appointment. Usually people have homework, you know, when you come in for this appointment. And then I would also recommend that you make some of the recipes. There's a bunch of recipes in this book. They're really colorful. Start cooking and using the 5 Essential Align Your Health book. Just start using it and start cooking. And that way when we get together, you've actually started to practice a little bit on some of this stuff, and we can kind of tweak some of the recipes and things that you need help with, okay? So our first essential we're going to hit is core chiropractic, and we've already gone through some of this. Did you guys all get your bag? Everybody got your bag of equipment, right? So you've all done all of that. I want to show you something just to kind of be mindful of in your process when you're thinking about how and why you're doing some of the things to correct your spine here in the office. I want you to be mindful of what we call mix, fix, set. Everybody say mix, fix, set. So mix this is all part of the spinal correction process. So mix is the things that you do in the office and at home to mix your spine up, to get those joints moving and lubricated, the discs nice and lubricated and warmed up. All of that's the mix component. When you mix your spine, the things you'll do is the wobble, the traction. You've got some of your home care equipment. That's the stuff that you'll do that's very important that you do before your adjustment, okay? It makes your adjustment go so much easier all the way around, and it makes the correction process a lot easier. So make sure that you do this, and I know you've already been shown how to do this, and if you need any extra help, just make sure you touch base with any of my team members because they can help you if you've gotten off track or maybe you need a little extra help. The second component of correction of the spine is the fix set. So that's really where you're in the room getting what? Getting your adjustment, that's right. So that's the fix component. And then the third one is the set component. That's where it holds everything in place. It holds the adjustment. It helps to stabilize the spine for the full correction process, okay? So some of the things that you do would be the rehab equipment. Have you guys all started doing your rehab at home? Okay, so you've got your head weights. Some of you have head weights. Some of you have hood weights. You can see the picture of the hood. You stand on the Vibe in the office here. You'll stand on the mat, some of you at home, right? And then you also have your spinal molding rolls. And I know a lot of you will find them on the floor in your bed. Just make sure that, you know, when you make your bed and you go to bed at night, you get those rolls underneath your neck. And you're at least putting them under your neck for at least 20 minutes and building up to where you fall asleep on them, okay? So these are all things that you'll do to correct your spine for the core chiropractic component. And then you also have resources to find all of your exercises that you've been given, your home exercise plan. So on our website, you can find this home exercise plan, and that'll actually click on those little videos, and it'll give you a little bit more information about how to practice them if you've forgotten any of them since we went over them with you, okay? All right, now let's get into nutrition. This is our fun one, okay? So we're gonna get into nutrition now. A couple of action steps we're gonna do for your nutrition, okay? The very first thing on your nutrition that we recommend for people to do is to change your meat and your dairy. Now, can anybody tell me why we would choose to do meat and dairy products first? And what are the changes? Anybody?
The hormones, antibiotics.
Okay, so she said hormones and antibiotics. That's right. So the animals that we get the milk and the meat from, right, they actually many times are injected with hormones to make more milk, right? And they're also injected with antibiotic and vaccines and what did you say? Antibiotic, yeah. So they're injected with poisons and toxins, and that's the kind of stuff you can't wash off. You know, when you go to the grocery store, you can't wash that stuff off your food. So you want to make sure you're choosing what kind of meat and dairy. Anybody tell me? Grass-fed. Watch the term organic. Don't get tripped up on that because a lot of people are using the term organic and it's not really. So you have to go a little bit further in some of this stuff. So when you go to the farm, You know, it's nice if you have a local farm that you can go to the farmer's market and you can ask them, hey, is this grass-fed meat? Ask them, is it grass finished or is it grain finished? Sometimes they say it's grass-fed, but then they'll grain finish it. So they'll feed the animals grain. So you want to dig a little bit deeper. You can find some of the stuff at natural grocers. You can find it at Sprouts. You can find it at Costco and your local farmer's market. And there may be some other places that you can find. Kroger, yeah. I think a lot of the grocery stores are kind of dialing in on the grass-fed situation. So just make sure that's your so when we talk about the money, remember we said we're going to focus on money, like how do we spend our dollars first, because dang, the food thing overwhelms me a little bit. Do you guys feel that way sometimes? The very thing you want to do first is make sure your meat and dairy is where you put your money first, okay? So get that grass-fed meat and dairy products. When you choose dairy, you want it to be full fat, okay? Don't look for no fat or low fat. Choose dairy that's full fat, okay? Now the second thing you want to do is get rid of your dirty dozen. I'm going to tell you what that is in a second. Pull out your folder. There's a little folder that says inside your folder, and it says dirty dozen on it. So pull that out. I'm going to explain that a little bit for you guys. It looks like it's in the back on the right. Yeah. Okay, let me hold yours for a second here, Ashley. Okay, so everybody have this form? Okay, the dirty dozen. I'm going to show you this in just a second. And the third thing you want to do as far as your nutrition is concerned is to add your supplements. And then most of you would say, well, which ones? I'm going to walk you through how to prioritize those as well, because budget's an issue. Okay, so I hit the meat, right? So this is the meat. This is the cows. Like, look at how they're raised. What's missing? That's right, the grass is what's missing. So we're looking for that. And then this is, you can see the grain, like that's how they're grain fed, like that. They get them really fat, and then they can put them on the scale, they weigh more, and they can make more money on those cows. So it's a bit of an interesting thing. So you want them to be grass fed, okay? Now this is the dirty dozen that I was talking to you about. Every year they come out with one of these, so you'll want to make sure you stay updated on this. This is the Environmental Working Group's list of the dirtiest fruits and vegetables, okay? And then the ones that you can buy conventionally. So when we talk about food, like how we're spending our money, if your budget's an issue, then you'll want to focus on these next, making sure that you buy these organically, okay? And so again, the grocery stores I told you about earlier, so get these organically, the ones that are the dirtiest, and then the clean ones you can buy conventionally if budget's an issue, and just make sure that you wash them really good. Apple cider and vinegar is really good. Just fill your sink up, throw the vegetables in there, and just kind of wash them off, scrub them off. That's the best way to do that. One thing I do want to mention about this is that, does anybody know what GMO is? What's the O? Organism, that's right. One thing I want to mention is that, does that sound yummy? Genetically modified organism? Like, that sounds so gross, right? I just want to mention that when you look at this sheet here, this does not mean that it's non-GMO. So you have to take an extra step when you're shopping. It's a pain in the butt, but your health is worth it. You've got to make sure you take that extra step. I'm finding that when I test people, I do some testing in the office called metabolics testing, and it's a blood and urine test. I can see what you've been eating on your test. And I've been finding a lot of people having issues with leaky gut, a lot of bacterial issues, digestive issues, because of a lot of the genetically modified stuff that we're just not aware of that we get. Thanks, Ashley. Okay, is that helpful, guys? Okay, now we're going to get into the vitamin priorities. So when budget's an issue, you want to be thinking about taking these vitamins and going in this order. And in vitamin priority number 1 will be the multivitamin. We have one for men, women's, and for kids. That's going to be a chewable. My daughter likes to just chew on those. It's her very last thing she likes to have before she leaves the house. And so your vitamin priorities, the men's and women's, that's going to be what you'll want to do as far as your first priority if budget's an issue. And for men and women, it's just going to be 2 capsules, and just take it with your breakfast in the morning. Vitamin priority number 2 is going to be your vitamin D. I'm going to have you guys pull out a document. There's a vitamin D document. Looks like yours is right there on the top. Pull it out. I'm going to go over that with you in just a second. what we know is that the research shows that vitamin D slashes the risk of cancers by what? 77%. Cancer industry refuses to support cancer prevention. Now here's the thing. If anything slashes the risk of cancer by 77%, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? So let's make sure that we are getting the right amount of vitamin D. That's really what the next step is, and I'm going to kind of show you guys. But that's our vitamin D3 for people who swallow capsules, and then our kids, we have it mixed with omega as well. I want to show you this chart here. So if you look at your chart, when you go, if you guys ever had your vitamin D tested? Anybody? Okay. If you have your vitamin D tested, they'll give you your lab results back, and it'll say anywhere between 30 and 100 is normal. And so I'm going to show you on this chart that that's not true. If you look at 30 where it falls on this chart here, 30 actually doesn't actually help you to overcome most disorders. In fact, at the level of 30, the only thing that you are actually overcoming is a disease called rickets. You guys know what rickets are? So that's the only thing that you're overcoming or your body's preventing or able to fight off is rickets at 30. And I tell you, when I get labs back from people here and I read their labs, many of them are under 30. And so where we want to be as far as our vitamin D values, when we test them before and after, we want to test, and then we want to take what we call a mega dosage amount of vitamin D and then retest where we want to be. And where you need to be is going to be out of the range of where all these diseases like cancer and things like that are prevalent. You'll want to be on the other side. Now, I like 70 to 90 is a good range. I would write that down, and if you don't have it on your form, let me grab your form and just look at it here. You guys all have your form here, the vitamin D? Okay. So on this document here, you'll see where it shows, I would write on here 70 to 90, and then on here I've given you instructions on how to, if you've already had your labs done, how to make sure that you megadose on vitamin D. It's 1,000 IUs per pound of body weight. You can do it for kids too. Your kids right now, if your little ones are having a little bit more snotty, sniffly nose this time of year, you can do that with the kids as well. Because if they weigh 20 pounds, then it's 1,000 IUs per pound. Okay, you just do that for 3 days, and then just make sure that fall and winter you take a little bit higher dosage of vitamin D. We recommend 10,000 IUs. Okay, so just follow this protocol. If you need some help from my team, also. If you don't have a place to get tested, then touch base with my team, because this is an important thing to get tested. I mean, if you're going to slash the risk of cancer by 77%, let's make sure we know what our ranges are, okay? So that good? Good for everybody?
So even after you do a mega dose of your vitamin D and say you retest, how long does your body continue staying at that?
I have found, this is a good question. So she asked, when you retest, how long does it stay in that range? That's a really good question. I actually have found that around this time of year, when there's not as much sunshine, and we're in Texas, that 10,000 IUs is the lower end. So let's just say, for example, you started out and you were 30, or let's just say you're 25. You retested, you did a mega dose, and when you mega dosed, you're at 80, okay? So I would put you got there really well. I would keep you this time of year saying, hey, make sure you're getting a little bit more sunshine whenever we get some here, and stay at that 10,000 IUs, and don't miss. And what I've also found, and it'll keep it that way. I found that people really, as long as they don't miss, they keep it that way. And then when the sun starts to come out, during spring and summer, if you are a person that tends to be in the sun a lot more, and you get sun a lot during the summertime, then you can decrease it to 5,000 IUs, and I found that that actually works really well. Now my pregnant ladies, I've had a few, and I need to increase their vitamin D during pregnancy, so that's the only time I've found that I've had to increase it is when you're with pregnancy.
So you encourage more of a mega dose during those seasons,
yeah,
or if you're trying to fight off?
Yeah, I do, and I do like it if you're so not everybody takes their vitamins every day the way that they should, right? They get off track. Anybody else get off track with taking your vitamins? So if you're getting off track and you're like, I just haven't taken my vitamins in a while, and you find like you're getting the cough, the sniffles, like you're just kind of not feeling good, you can megadose later in the year. If you have already done it once, yeah, it's not a problem. It's not going to hurt you. Yeah.
So twice a year?
Not a problem. You can do it. You can do it a couple times a year, like especially if you know you're not consistent, with taking your vitamin D every day. Children, same thing. Like if the children are having issues, immune system issues, and let's say you don't give your kids their vitamin every day. Like my 8-year-old is so dang disciplined with her vitamins, but my other 2 kids are not. So if your little ones are really disciplined, then you can megadose them and just make sure you give them their vitamins every day. But if they're not, you can megadose them. It's not going to have a problem.
So that would be double of what this calculates for them.
You'd have to figure out what their weight is. You follow the formula there and you figure out how much they weigh, and then you megadose based upon their weight for 3 days, and then go on their maintenance after that. Yeah, good questions. Okay, so we hit, vitamin D, vitamin priority number 3 is going to be your optimal omega. So what are your omegas? Anybody know where you get, what foods you eat that give you omegas?
Salmon, nuts.
We got
Eggs.
salmons, say it again, nuts,
Oil.
avocado, sardines. Wow, you guys are like a smart group here. My goodness. Okay, so then you probably all know about this too, right? You're got it all dialed in. I like to show this image here because it talks about where these omegas are really important, and it's really around your cell membranes, which everything in your body has a cell membrane around it, right? All of your cells. So you got 30 trillion cells, and every one of them has a cell membrane. So if you can imagine that your cell, just imagine this is like a liver cell, for example, and it has a cell membrane. So my hand represents the cell membrane. If you have a healthy cell, then when you eat, you get nutrients, it should be able to enter through, see that little tunnel? It should be able to enter into the cell, and then the toxins should be able to leave the cell. That's a healthy cell, okay? So some things that we do to mess up our healthy cells are eating things like what? What do we know?
Processed foods.
Processed foods. What about Chick-fil-A? Nobody here eats Chick-fil-A, right? Never. Whataburger. What else?
Fries.
The French fries that you get everywhere. What did you say? McDonald's. So these are foods that if you came in the office, you see our display in the office. We actually have a McDonald's French fries and burger that have been here since 2007, and they look exactly the same. So what happens is that bad fats, they wrap themselves like saran wrap around all of your cells. So you have 30 trillion cells. You got saran wrap around all 30 trillion of your cells. Now, if that's the case, can I get nutrients inside the cell?
No.
Can I get toxins out?
Nope.
So can I lose weight?
Nope.
Makes it difficult, doesn't it? How about heal from cancer?
Nope.
Makes it difficult, doesn't it? So see how important it is to make sure that the foods we consume, we can actually absorb them and our cells can actually get the nutrients from them. So, and if you have been, nobody needs to raise their hands, but if you've been eating foods like that, then just a bag of fries, it takes 90 days for your body to heal from. Now, that should shock everybody. 90 days. So that's a long time to heal. So that's why we are going to teach you about some of the eating plans that we do to actually help you in your healing process, okay? I like to throw the little Crisco up there. Did you guys ever do the Crisco in your house where you threw the Crisco in the coffee can and then you stick it under the sink and you reuse that? Did anybody else do that? My job was to cook growing up, and so we had the coffee can underneath the sink and we would just reuse it. Nobody else did that? Okay, see, I got one honest person in the whole group here. All right, so vitamin priority number 4 sometimes is priority number 1. And the reason why I say sometimes it's priority number 1, sometimes your diet is so dang bad that this is the only source of good nutrients that you get. So you might, have to evaluate that for yourself personally, but priority number 4 is going to be the proteins like your grass-fed or your plant protein or your bone broth protein, and your max greens. Okay, now here's the hard part. Not really. You guys are going to actually pick which eating plan you're going to follow today, okay? So here's how we pick out if we're going to follow what we call the advanced plan. We have 2 eating plans. One is called the core plan, and that's going to really be healthy eating, and I'll show you what the healthy eating is in a minute for everybody, okay? And then what we call the advanced plan. People who follow the advanced plan have a little bit more of a strict eating plan, and they're going to do that because they're trying to heal from some things that you see up on the board here, okay? So if you need to heal from some of those things, then we're going to follow that advanced plan for a period of time, and then you might remeasure some of these things. Like at your medical doctor, if you have some tests that you get done, you might remeasure those and just see how you're doing, okay? But this is why you would follow the advanced plan. So you don't need to raise your hand on this part, but if you have been tested for and your doctor says you have high triglycerides, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, low blood sugar, high insulin, or high leptin, okay? That's a large percentage of patients that come in my office. They have this going on. So if you've ever had, or you have that right now, you're dealing with that right now, then following something like what we call the advanced plan would be for you, okay? So some of you should already be thinking about like whether you need to follow this advanced plan, and you might be a little nervous about what it is, right? Is that kind of what's going on? You better not take away my sugar, right? Is that what's going on? Okay. The next thing on the indications for the advanced plan would be if there is an area of toxicity you've been dealing with, okay? So it's broad. Could be a lot of different things. Maybe it's mold, heavy metals, you know, there's a lot of different areas of toxicity that could be going on with you. Inflammatory disease, there's a lot of inflammatory diseases. In fact, probably a lot of things on here would be considered inflammatory disease. Allergies or arthritis. Arthritis is considered an inflammatory disease. So a lot of people, they can't move their joints, right? They wake up and their joints are stiff, their knees are stiff, right? And so that creates inflammation. And so following something like the advanced plan can actually heal your joints. My mother-in-law, she actually, at 69, had arthritis so bad she couldn't even open the doors in her house. And so when she decided to start following the advanced plan, it totally changed her life. And now she's 75, she's been running marathons, duathlons. I mean, she's like a total studette. Like, she's amazing. In fact, every week she sends us a selfie of the race that she's doing that week. And so, but she only started at 69, so it kind of shows you that it doesn't matter how old you are. It really matters what you're putting in and how you're taking care of your body. The next thing is autism spectrum. Cancer. I will say with cancer, what foods does a cancer cell love? Sugar. That's right. And then what does a cancer cell hate? Does anybody know that? That's a tricky one.
Oxygen.
It hates oxygen. It hates oxygen because it needs sugar to survive. And if you give it oxygen and then you take the sugar away, it's changing the type of cell it is. So healthy cells like oxygen and they don't like sugar. And we want to build a lot more what? Healthy cells, right? So cancer, now chronic fatigue, and I'm going to say this too, if you're a person who's ever had cancer, then you should just be on advanced plan the rest of your life because you never want to give your body an opportunity to build more cancer cells, right? The next thing on the list would be chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, heart disease, digestive dysfunction. So let me just list a few. Anybody know digestive dysfunction, some disorders? Crohn's. What did you say? IBS, leaky gut, celiac. Anybody else? I think you guys hit the big ones. Say it again. Ulcerative colitis. So these are all really good ones. If that's you, that's considered a digestive dysfunction and you would want to follow the advanced plan. Obesity, genetically intolerant to grains, ADD or ADHD, mental disorders. I'll just say the worst thing in the world you want to give kids is what? But what I'm finding, sugar, that's right. What I'm finding is every school, like when we start school, they want you to bring bags of candy so that they can bribe your kids to answer questions in class. I don't get it. It's a frustration for me, huge. But so why would you give kids something that's going to make them be like a roller coaster? Aren't you like a roller coaster when you eat sugar? Or is it just me? I guess it's just me. I mean, you eat sugar and like you're like, immediately like, ah, and then serious crash all the way down where you want to cry. And then for me, my joints make me want to cry because then they remind me the next morning I shouldn't have done it. So sugar is really the last thing you want to do, and it creates more mental. What I find a lot of times is people who follow the advanced plan, their mental and emotional disorders are stable. They become much more stable. So that's important. And then medications. A lot of patients in this office, they come in, they've been on a lot of medications, they start following the 5 essentials, and they go back to their doctor, and the doctor is like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, and they take them off their medications. So people actually are able to live healthy, and their bodies don't need medications anymore. And that's important. Now, if you're on a medication, then this would be a good plan to follow, okay? And just keep checking your levels and checking back with your doctor on that. Okay, so based upon what we just learned here, does everybody feel like they have an answer on which eating plan they should follow? Yeah? Is everybody scared? A little scared? All right, so what should you follow?
Advance.
Okay, you?
Advance.
You look scared. Which one?
Advance.
Which one should you follow? Oh, advanced? Okay. I'm getting all these people mad at me right now. Listen, don't shoot the messenger. You made a commitment to something because you're worth it, right? And so I'm going to show you, make sure we know how to do that, okay? Let's walk through what are the basic changes that you're going to follow for the advanced plan. So in a nutshell, we just hit the proteins, we just hit the fats. So we'll just go in order, kind of the 3 basic changes. The first change is your sugar and your carbohydrates. This is usually the one that people get the most kind of like stressed about or nervous about, and it's really removing grains from your diet. Why would you remove grains from the advanced plan? Because they turn to sugar also. Even things like, what are some healthy grains? Quinoa. What are some healthy grains that we know of? What about that bread Ezekiel bread? Even those types of things, even though they're better for core plan people. So it might be for you later, okay, which we'll talk about when do we switch in a second. But it might be for you later, but right now that stuff still turns to sugar. And since you're trying to heal from these things for a period of time, we're going to stay off those things because it does turn to sugar and it does create inflammation, okay? So eliminating grains, sugars, fruits. What we want to do is we want to stick with fruits that are actually lower glycemic. Okay, that means they're lower in sugar. And so can you guys list the ones that are lower in sugar? I know they're up there. You can cheat.
Raspberries.
Berries. Granny Smith apples. Grapefruit. Grapefruit, yep. Grapefruit's lower glycemic index. The reason why you don't want to have watermelon, you guys ever eat watermelon? Like, can you just eat one slice? But if you eat a slice of a green apple, does it make you want to eat like 10 more? It's not. It's because of the glycemic index there. So that's what you want to do with your carbs. Let me hit a little bit more on carbs though. You have a good question. Grains. Let's hit a little bit more on carbs. What else turns to sugar quickly? What other foods turn to sugar quickly? No, well, yeah, I'm going to get to that one in a second. Let's stay on carbs right now. Pasta.
That's great.
So pasta, noodles, like let's stick in that kind of category of rice, root vegetables, that's right. Mm-hmm. So let's go back to...
They are organic and gluten-free. They're still not...
Yeah. She said, what about if it's organic and gluten-free? It would be more of a core plan food. Yeah. So what I usually tell people as far as fruits are concerned is just stick with the berries, the green apples, the Granny Smith apples, and the grapefruits. As far as your vegetables are concerned, you can pretty much have most all vegetables except for a few, okay? You want to stay away from the ones that turn to sugar quickly. What are those? Carrots, what else? Potatoes, beets, and like corn. I think you said corn. No. So stay away from those 4. Those are kind of the main ones. You're going to be good if you stay away from those things, okay? Because those turn to sugar really quickly. You're good with that. Now, so we hit the fruits and the vegetables, and then the other thing just with carbs is just the rice, the noodles, the pasta, the quinoa, the oatmeal, even the steel-cut oatmeal. That kind of stuff, I know, I'm sorry. The steel-cut oatmeal. But because it turns to sugar quickly, we want to stay away from all of those things that turn to sugar quickly if we are doing what? If we're trying to overcome any of these things, okay? So that's going to be your carbs. Your protein sources, you want to replace your conventional protein sources with natural protein sources. What does that mean? We want grass-fed and grass-finished, no hormones, just like we talked about a second ago. That's the kind of protein. But here's a really important trick that a couple of you, I think, caught on already. Protein, if you remove your carbs and you do what we said as far as step number 1, some of you will turn to protein and you'll make your portion sizes so dang big that it goes through what's called gluconeogenesis and it makes more sugar. So your protein sizes can't be every time you eat protein 3 times a day is a big size, it's a steak, okay? Because that's too much, it's more than what your body needs to consume. Most of us really need about the size of a deck of cards. So just like a small chicken breast, you know, for maybe lunch in your salad, and then maybe a small, you know, if you're going to have steak, like cut it in half or maybe in a third, right? That much for your dinner time. Maybe then just eggs or a protein shake for your breakfast. You guys with me on that? So you just want to be careful you don't consume too much protein, okay? And then your third basic change is remove your bad fats and replace them with good ones. So we talked about the bad fats that are obvious, like we all know, like the fast foods, we hit that. But what are good oils that we should be cooking with?
Olive oil, avocado.
Olive oil, avocado, what did you say? You said coconut oil, grapeseed oil, okay? What should we stay away from? Crisco, good job, that's right. Stay away from the Crisco. Yeah, don't be fooled by the word vegetable oil. Even though it says vegetable, I'm sorry. I didn't create it. It's very deceiving. So stay away from that, canola, Crisco, that kind of stuff, okay? So remove, yes ma'am?
What about fish and or shellfish?
So fish is, shellfish you want to stay away, so we're talking about fat or protein sources. We want to stay away from things like crab and lobster. The reason why, does anybody know? Because they're bottom feeders. What do they eat? They eat the trash. They eat the poo-poo from the fish, right? So we want to stay away from that because God made them to clean up the ocean, right? We don't want to eat that. If we eat it, it's a vacation meal, or it's a vacation meal. Like I'm not going to say it's core plan, like it's just not clean. And so fish, small, like what do we say? Who said good fish? Sardines, what else? What kind of salmon?
Wild caught.
Wild caught salmon. Sockeye is good. Yeah, you don't want it. Gosh, you got to be careful with the fish that you eat. You just have to check and make sure that it's, you know, doesn't have, you know, some of the bad waters that they're in. So yeah, it's a good question. Anybody else? You guys good? Exactly, the toxicity source. That's right. So the 3 basic changes. Is everybody good with the 3 basic changes? Okay. So these are things you want to practice before you come in. Since we all know we need to follow the advanced plan, we're going to choose in the Align Your Health book. We're going to pick through those things and start practicing some of these recipes. And the last thing on the diet thing that I want to hit is there anything worse than sugar? Okay, so yuck, right? Sorry. Sucralose, Splenda, sweet and low, equal, all that stuff burns a hole in your brain. You don't want to have it. Some of you are addicted to it. You want to make sure you start reading some of your labels and remove that stuff. The things that you can have, I don't have xylitol on the table here, but I have stevia. So we sell stevia and we have some flavored stevia. I like to make popsicles and stuff like that with this. So, or put it in your yogurt. So stevia is really good. We sell this. Erythritol is really good and xylitol is really good. We sell the xylitol here in the office. So those are good things. You want to stay away from the artificial sweeteners.
What about the organic sugar?
Yeah, so organic sugar or the word organic cane sugar, you've seen that a lot. Yeah, that's not advanced plan. It's still, coconut sugar is a core plan sugar. So it's a good question. And let me hit a couple other things.
For people, even though they are not in any plan, they can use that, the organic sugar.
If they're not following any plan, yeah. I'm just saying specifically for, yeah, I'm just saying for, yeah. But one thing I want to hit too is a couple other sweeteners that are really popular that people like to use is agave, honey and maple syrup. I'll just say honey and maple syrup were found in nature, yes? Not readily found in nature, but they're found in nature. So if we consume it, then it should be how it's found in nature, in the scoopable, right? Not teddy bear?
Yeah.
You know what I mean by teddy bear? Everybody get the teddy bear? So it needs to be in a real thick and the scoopable source. You'll want to find a good source, but which plan can have, core plan can have small amounts of honey and small amounts of maple syrup, right? Grade B maple syrup. But we stay away from agave. It's just not good, okay? It's more refined and it's just not a good thing at all. So we stay away from that. But you mentioned, raw honey, same thing. But you mentioned coconut sugar. That's more core plan. So everybody clear on that? So when we're on the advanced plan, which sugar should we have only?
No sugar.
That's better, right? No sugar is better. Stevia, xylitol, erythritol. Those are the only ones. Swerve is a brand of erythritol. That's right. And so, yes.
What about, I can't remember, monk fruit?
Yeah, monk fruit, I think they're finding it's more on the core plan. I know. I'm seeing it a little bit on there, and I think the verdict's still out on that. It may be in the Align Your Health book, but it might be on the kind of we're not sure yet. So, yes?
Is that compared to like a date, like a sweetener?
Yeah, kind of like dates would be a sweetener, but it's more of a core plan sweetener. Monk fruit, I feel like, is also in the core plan as well. So I kind of err on the side of caution on that one. So that's good questions, though. Everybody else good? Okay. Mindset. So this one's my favorite. The mindset piece, the time that you spend just getting your head straight. Dang, I mean, it's like having kids, you need to reset your mind. What you do every day when you're married, like just resetting your mind is so important to be able to give yourself and give your family the best. Again, the Bible is my favorite thing that I like to do. We do a war plan every week for both of our offices. I'd suggest a family meeting for your home just on the weekend maybe to prepare for your week. It'll make things go much more peaceful. Everybody should do this. And then just having a morning routine, where you get your head right, you spend some time in the Word, you spend some time in prayer, you listen to some podcasts that really build you up and lift you up. So this piece is really important. And then we'll get into essential number 4, oxygen and exercise. Again, you guys got your bookmark, right? So you're going to go home and activate your bookmark, right? Everybody? Okay, good. Okay, so when you exercise this type of high intensity workout, max T3, T3 stands for time, tempo, and type. So you get to change the amount of time. We do 12 minutes, but it could be 6, right? Sometimes we do a 6-minute workout, right? So 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, but it's typically a 12-minute workout. Tempo, how fast or how slow you go, and the type of exercise, okay, that you do. So when you do this type of workout, you're going to increase your growth hormone and your testosterone, decrease cortisol. Cortisol is that hormone that likes to actually hang out around the middle and make fat. So we want to decrease that stuff, right? And it's the stress hormone. So it has a lot of negative physical side effects for you. Causes fat to be burned after exercise for 36 hours. I like that. That's romantic, right? Where you're burning fat for 36 hours after a workout when you come here with Ashley. Yeah? Okay, good. And then increases your sensitivity to insulin. Insulin, again, is your fat hormone. So we want to be very sensitive to that. Whenever we eat sugar, we don't want a whole bunch of that coming in, so we want to decrease the increase of your sugar or the consumption of that, obviously with advanced plan. But when you work out, it helps that as well too. So that's another very important thing. I want to just show you, these are the times. So if you want the times for the workouts that we do in our office, bring your friends. But you can see kind of the workout here is on your phone. So you can, when you do your bookmark, you can see the little exercises on your phone right there. Last one is minimizing your exposure to toxins. So what we want to make sure we do with toxins, I have a little form for you inside your folder. Let me see, did I hit everything for you? There's a toxic ingredients list. Yeah, toxic ingredients. Let's grab that one. So I'm not going to let you cheat. I'm going to make you have to think here. So we think about toxins. What are some toxins that you guys know? What are things that you think of that are toxic?
Some water sources.
Water sources are definitely toxic. That's right. Some of them have what? Lead in them, right? And medications in them. So a lot of things. Chlorine. What else is toxic? So the pans that you cook with can be very toxic. We recommend that we get them tested, and if you want a resource on that, we have that here in the office for you to be able to learn about how to do that. Household cleaning products, that's right. Cosmetics. Anything else? Yeah, so some of our plastic Tupperware and stuff. Yep, that's right. So it'd be kind of in the cookware maybe category.
Vaccine.
Anything else? Boy, you went right for it, didn't you? Did you guys hear what she said? Vaccines. So it kind of falls in the category of what vaccines does. Medications, right? Are medications toxic?
Yes.
Sometimes they're necessary to save your life, right? But are they also what? They're also toxic, right? So what's important, you know, as you go through here and you start learning about this stuff is how to get yourself healthy so your body doesn't have to rely on those things like we talked about earlier. So these are all things that are toxins. And I have a list I want to show you inside your folder that I would recommend you take this list, and I think we hit the highlights, the big ones, but I would recommend that you go home and you look in your pantry and you look in your cabinets, your personal care product cabinets, your shower, the things that you use all the time, and start looking to see if you have these things in here. For example, one thing I'm picking up right here just looking at is triclosan. And triclosan's found in what? Does anybody know? Hand sanitizers, that's right. So all the stuff you see out there, the Purell, when you rub that stuff on your hands, you're putting triclosan, which is a liver toxin, directly in your body. So you want to do things like Young Living has some really good hand sanitizer. You want to do things that are going to be, that actually can clean, but also don't make you sick, okay? So you want to look through those. You mentioned vaccines. Vaccines have what in them? You can see the list, right? There's a lot of things that vaccines, does anybody know? They have mercury in them. So you want to make sure that you're aware, make an informed decision. Inside your packet, and if you want to separately, we can have a separate conversation about that because it's a personal parent choice, and sometimes we just don't know we have choices. And so we just like to make sure you're informed. There's a vaccine information handout inside your folder that you can actually get your child get a waiver for them to get into daycare or into schools or even into college. And so you just have to fill out the waiver. You order it from the government here, the CDC, and then you just sign it, go get it notarized yourself, and you just give it to the daycare or whatever. So it's really not difficult. In Texas, we can do that. But you'll have the information on that in there as well. Anything else? I'm just checking here to see if there's artificial sweeteners, definitely in your foods, right? That's going to be a toxic source. So those are things you're just going to want to make sure you take that home and just kind of go through all of your stuff to make sure you've got it dialed in. And I think we hit them all right there. The makeups, and there's some good brands, like Young Living has some good makeups brands. I think Natural Beauty Counter has some personal care products that are really awesome. And we can get you some information about that. The personal care products, Young Living has some there as well. I think, what's the other company? Norwex has some really great cleaning products. So I would just look through and just grab some of those resources. One of the ways that we make sure to eliminate these toxins from our body is to do what we call a detox. And this is our detox system for adults and for kids. We have both of those. And so we recommend that we just do those every day. It cleans out your cells and removes the toxins from your body permanently. So something my whole family, all 5 of us, we do every day. We just never miss our detox. In fact, that's the one thing my son will make sure he takes every single day, even at college. So that's important. And the last thing is, most of you will not be ready for this, but when you are ready and you've started to dial in your nutrition and you're feeling like you're doing really good in this area and you want to see how it's working for you, you can actually do what we call metabolics testing, and it's a blood and urine test, and you can actually see how well your nutrition is working for you. So you can see if you're at risk for heart disease, cancer, leaky gut, some of the things that you guys said. This test will actually test for those things. So this is something I would kind of put on your to-do list for most of you after we start dialing in this nutrition and everything. Okay? Any questions? Everybody good? All right, well, God bless you guys. I hope this helped you guys. Just go ahead and turn your forms in, and we'll see you guys at your consultation.